Many of you have reached out with requests for arpeggio play-alongs to practice your fingerpicking skills. So in this lesson, you're going to learn a beautiful chord progression and 2 different arpeggio patterns that we can apply to this progression. First, we'll look at how to play the chords, and then you can join me for 4 different play-alongs. In the first play-along, we'll use pattern 1. In the second play-along, we'll use pattern 2. The third and fourth play-alongs will be a combination of alternating between patterns 1 and 2 that are really beautiful. This will give you great practice, not only with your right hand fingerpicking skills, but also with your left hand in changing chords. I'm going to play through the patterns and play-alongs in this lesson using low G tuning. I'm also creating a second lesson for high G tuning, where we'll use patterns that are slightly different and more suitable for high G tuning. So if you have a low G, you can follow this lesson. If you have a high G, you can still follow this lesson, keeping in mind that your 4th string is 1 octave higher than mine. Once the next lesson is available for high G tuning and high G play-alongs, then you'll find that link above and also down below in the video description. So let's start by looking at how to play the chords that are used in our chord progression. Starting with E minor. For E minor, I have my index finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string, my middle finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and my ring finger on the 4th fret of the 3rd string. Next we have A minor add 9. So our A minor chord is the 2nd fret of the 4th string. And we're going to add the 9th note in the A minor scale, which is our B note on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. Next we have our D chord, which is the 2nd fret of strings 4, 3, and 2. To play this chord, I'm using my index, middle, and ring fingers. Next we have our G major 7 chord. Now to move from D to G major 7, we're going to move all 3 fingers down 1 string. So now we're covering the 2nd fret of strings 3, 2, and 1. Next we have our C chord, which is the 3rd fret of the 1st string. Then we have G. To play G, I have my index and middle fingers on the 2nd fret of strings 3 and 1, and my ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. And finally we have our A minor chord, which is just the 2nd fret of the 4th string. In this progression, we'll move to A minor from G, and then from A minor we'll go to our D chord. So starting from G, we'll simply move our index finger up 1 string to the 4th string, and then to go to our D chord, we'll keep our index finger in place and then place down our middle and ring fingers to form our D chord. So here's how it looks to smoothly transition from G to A minor to D. Now let's move into our first pattern. We'll walk through how to play the pattern, how to count the rhythm, and then how to apply it to our chord progression. Here's how our first pattern sounds on an E minor chord. And now let's take a look at this pattern played slowly. Here we have 6 beats in this pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm starting by playing strings 4, 3, and 2 with my thumb, index finger, and then middle finger. Then I'm going back to string 4 with my thumb, string 3 with my index finger, and I'm finishing on string 1 with my ring finger. The first way that we'll play this progression is to apply our first pattern to every chord. So we'll start on E minor, then we'll go to A minor, add 9, then to D, and then to G major 7. Now for the second half of this progression, we'll go to our C chord, then to G, then to A minor, and then to D. Now you can cycle through this progression as many times as you would like. After the final D chord, then I like to put a nice ending to this progression by picking all 4 strings on G major 7. As you join me for the play-alongs, if you find that a slower tempo would be helpful, then you can slow down the playback speed of the video down in your video settings. Now let's move into our first play-along. I'm going to play through our progression 3 times using pattern 1. I'll play through this at 45 beats per minute, so that's what you can set your metronome at if you're going to use a metronome. After playing through the progression 3 times, I'll finish on a G major 7 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you'd like to download a PDF from this lesson, including the chords, chord progressions, and patterns, you can do so from my Patreon page, along with my songbook covering all of the song tutorials that I've shared. You'll find the link down below in the video description. Next, we'll take a look at pattern 2, how to apply it to our progression, and then we'll move into our second play along, where I'll play through our chord progression 3 times once again at 45 beats per minute, finishing on a G major 7 chord. Here's our second pattern, played slowly on an E minor chord. For this pattern, we're starting on the first string, and the next 5 notes are the same as the first 5 notes of pattern 1. So starting on string 4, 3, 2, back to string 4, and finishing on string 3. So in pattern 1, our note on the first string came at the end, and in pattern 2, our note on the first string comes at the beginning. The rhythm of pattern 2 is also counted out in 6 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And next you can play along with me, playing our chord progression using pattern 2. I'll play through this progression 3 times as well, and then end on a G major 7 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. you're enjoying this lesson, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, then welcome. I'm Lara. I'm a musician, a composer, and a ukulele teacher, and I hope you enjoy exploring my channel, my lessons, song tutorials, and arrangements. Now that you've learned both patterns, let's look at how to combine the patterns and move into our third play-along. We'll apply pattern 1 to the first 4 chords in the progression and pattern 2 to the last 4 chords. I've indicated our pattern numbers in red and blue, so you'll see the number 1 for pattern 1 next to our first 4 chords, and the number 2 in blue for pattern 2 next to the second 4 chords. So starting on E minor, we're going to play pattern 1, then going to A minor add 9, then to our D chord, and then to G major 7. Now when we get to our C chord, we're going to switch to pattern 2, then going to G, then A minor, and then to D. Now when playing these progressions, I think it's especially beautiful to emphasize the first and fourth beats in each pattern. So for example, if we play pattern 1 on our E minor chord, then we're going to play both notes on the 4th string a bit louder than the other strings. Similarly, if we play pattern 2 on a C chord and emphasize beats 1 and 4, then we're going to play the first string and the second string louder than strings 3 and 4. So here's how this sounds. Now let's move into our third play-along. This time I'm going to play pattern 1 on our first 4 chords and pattern 2 on our last 4 chords. I'll cycle through this progression 3 times and then end on a G major 7 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you're feeling generous and you'd like to support my channel, then see the video description for an easy way to buy me a coffee. Now let's move into our final play-along. For this one, we're going to go back and forth between patterns 1 and 2. For this progression, you'll still see the pattern numbers in red and blue. This time they're alternating 1, 2, 1, 2 through the 8 chords. And now for our final play-along, once again, I'll play through our chord progression 3 times, alternating between patterns 1 and 2 with each chord. Then I'll finish on a G major 7 chord after the final D in our progression. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I hope you've enjoyed learning this beautiful chord progression and arpeggio patterns. Have fun practicing and playing along with me, and thanks for watching.